Hey guys, this is Mark and welcome to this another video. And today we are going to translate a layout design made in Photoshop to Android Studio so that you can use it on your own Android app. Before everything else, I would like to congratulate our very good friends Reggie and Charlotte. May you guys have a long and happy marriage ahead of you. Now, without further ado, let's head over to Android Studio and let's make that design. So now we have opened up our Android Studio as well as the Android emulator. But typically, when you're making an app, there's a UI or UX designer. So this guy or this gal will be assigned to make your layout, and he or she will do this in Photoshop or Illustrator or Affinity Designer, or using pen and paper. So what this does is have a quick iteration. So if there are an overlooked flaw, for example, you're designing, say, a recipe app, cooking recipe app. You, um, Most of the time you cannot lay out or design it in your head. So the layout designer or the UI designer will say do it on pen and paper, and then most of the time there will be a lot of iterations or changes. So it's a lot more cheap than making the layout directly in Android Studio, because when there's an issue or there's a flaw in the design, you need to recode or you need to relay out it on Android Studio. Whereas if the layout designer is doing that on Photoshop, say Photoshop, he or she can just delete it. He or she can just move it around and wait for the approval of the or whoever says the final say in your team. So I made two images here that sort of like mimics the process so that you we can do it as well in this video. So here's the um, an example of target layout. We have this top banner with a logo centered in it, and then we have a little bit of space here, followed by another block with rows of texts, and then followed by a big space here, and then lastly a bottom banner with a text view aligned at the bottom as well. So as an Android developer, if you're gonna be the one doing the layout from this design, at least you can have sort of idea how to implement it, how to work on it. So this will be our plan here. The first banner will be a relative layout. I'll explain later the difference between relative layout and linear layout. So the first one, relative layout with a logo at the middle. Okay, and then followed by a linear layout, which has some rows, or yeah, which has some rows. I'll explain it later. And then these rows are linear layout as well, which are oriented horizontally. This main block or the mid banner, we can call it mid banner, has an orientation of vertical. So that means it will be stacked vertically. Whereas this inner layout, linear layout, will be stacked horizontally. That's why this text view name is beside this another text view. Okay, so next one is another relative layout, which we can align it at the bottom of the entire screen. And this word relative here, I just put this here to remind us or to say that the entire screen, or sorry, the root layout will be a relative layout. So this is we are using relative layout as the root layout for us to align these blocks in their respective places. Okay, so let's move on to Android Studio and let's make this happen. So first of all, let's count the immediate layouts. So relative layout followed by a linear layout and then a relative layout. Okay, so here's our layout. Right now, it's a blank layout and it's constraint layout. So uh, from the design, we're gonna be using relative layout. So let's delete this and let's use relative layout. Okay, let's just move this down below to make it more readable. Match parent, that means you are matching the width of your parent. So since this is the root layout, that means this is the topmost layout. Its parent is basically the screen. So it's matching the width of the screen. Same goes for its layout height. It matches the height of the screen. So okay, so let's move on to adding our first relative layout, which has a width of match parent as well. So let me explain this. This relative layout has a width of its parent. Okay, so its parent in this case is this relative layout. As you can see, this relative layout is inside these tags, these two tags, opening and closing tags of this relative layout. Basically, this relative layout here is a child of this one. Okay, so it matches the width of its parent, which matches the width of its parent, which is the screen. So basically, this relative layout here has a width of what the screen is. So that's just it. Okay, so let's move on to its height. Let's say we can use this height, let's say 200 dp. No, it's too much. To 170. Yeah, we can do that. Let's add background color just to make it more visible for us. So FF0000, and then just click this so we can make it more pleasing to the eyes. Okay, that's better. So let's add another block here. It's linear layout, so we don't need to copy and paste that because we are using a different layout. Linear layout. Width is match parent as well. For height, let's use 400 dp maybe. I think it's too much. It's 350 dp. That's more like it. So there, as you can see, it overlapped with our first layout, where with its sibling. Okay, let's add actually a background color so you can easily see it. FF000, and then let's make it orange. Okay, as you can see on the right panel, the first relative layout is entirely covered by this linear layout. What we can do here is explicitly say that this linear layout is right below something else or some other control. So align, is it align? Align bottom. No, this is not the one. Below, I think there's a word below here. Layout below, and then you need to tell here what control will be it sort of under that what control. So we cannot just say that this layout is below this layout. we need to identify this relative layout first for us to say, explicitly tell that this linear layout will be below of something. Okay, I hope you can understand that. I think it will be clear if by the time we work on it. Okay, so let's add an ID. So this is the what I told you. We need to identify this relative layout first. Let's say top banner. So at this point, this relative layout, which is under this orange black block, is called top banner. And as you can tell, IDs cannot be duplicated. It's unique. So we can explicitly now say that this linear layout is below top banner. As you can see, it is perfectly correct right now. Um, this orange block is right below this blue cyan block, which is this one. Okay, I hope it's clear. And then let's move on to the third block, which is another relative. So we can just copy and paste this. It's copy and paste is available for us to make our lives easier. So let's use that. As you can see, there's a red line here. I've already told you you cannot have another ID with the same name. So let's change this to bottom banner. Where is it? I think it's, you know what? Let's change the color first. There, we are covering the first relative layout because we haven't explicitly tell where this is aligned at. So by default, it's aligned at the top, which has the same alignment of this first relative layout. So let's say that you need to align it at the bottom of its parent. True. There. So the parent of this relative layout is actually the root layout. This root layout has three children: this first relative layout, the linear layout, and another relative layout. You can say that these three layouts are sort of like siblings, and their parent is this one. So yeah, that's it. So you are aligning at the bottom of your parent, of this parent. So basically, it's the screen. Sorry, it's the root layout, which has a height of the screen. So basically, the bottom of its parent is the bottom of the screen. That's why this blue block here is positioned exactly right here at the bottom. But we have a bit of um, bigger than we need for its height. So that's around 100. Yeah, we can work on that. Okay, next we need to space things out. As you can see here, we have a little space here between the relative layout and the linear layout. There are two ways to do this. We can add another control here, say view, and just say layout width match parent, just to match the width of the screen, and then the layout height would be say 20 dp. And then we need to below top banner, but this layout here needs to be below this view. So I need to, why does it have the same ID? I don't know, it doesn't have the same ID. So ID, let's spacer, yeah. So this one should be below this spacer. There. That's one way of adding this kind of space. Or we can remove this entirely and change this back to top banner. And then this block, we will add a margin bottom of 20 dp. So I think it's easier, but if you prefer the other one, the other way, it's entirely up to you. Okay, so now we have the space, we have the space. Let's work on the content of those blocks. First, the relative layout. Let's add an image view of 50 dp and 50 dp again. I think it's too small. 150 dp, 110. Let's use 110. And then let's add the background color so we can easily distinguish this this block. This content of this block. There, we can use that. Okay, so assume that this is the logo, since we don't have any asset right now to to work as the logo. But as you can see, it's not quite the same as with our target design. So we can, since this is a relative layout, we can align it on the center, on the side, on the top. So we have an attribute of center in parent to true. So there we have it. Our logo is now set in the middle. Now we will move on to, I think this is the hardest part of this layout, is the linear layout, is nested linear layout. That means a linear layout within a linear layout. Actually, it's 3 linear layouts. No, it's just 2. Okay, so first, again, this is this block, this orange block. And since, as you can see here, we are adding linear layout as children of this entire linear layout. Okay, so let's just copy and paste this to make it to make things quicker. But let's change the values. Let's remove this layout below, since it won't be below any other control. Width is match parent, it's fine. Just change the color first to green. As you can see, it covered the entire parent. Why? Because we are using match parent for the width. It's fine because, as you can see here, the row almost took the entire width. We can add those spacing later. But for height, it's the same as the height of its parent. That's why it occupies the entire space. For now, we can use 50 dp. dp. I think it's too small. Let's make it 70. There we have it. Okay, so now we have the first row. You know what? Let's add the spacing here. There's a difference between padding and margin, by the way. If what we used here is margin. So basically, margin is added outside the control. As you can see, the blue block here, the tap banner, did not extend this space. So margin is added outside this block. If you're using padding, the spacing will be added inside the block. That means if we added 20 dp using padding instead of margin, this space, this white space here, will be blue as well. Okay, so you'll understand it more later when we change values or when we change attributes for testing. Okay, let's move on to, where am I again? So this linear layout, let's add, let's check the design first. As you can see, this yellow is not at the edge of the screen. That means we can use margin here for this spacing instead of padding. So margin. Oh, why don't you? Yeah, there. Margin left. My bad. I'm not inside the tag. Sorry about that. Margin left of 10 dp. As you can see, it moved, but it's quite small. Let's make it 20 dp to make it more dramatic. And then let's add margin for the right side of the control for another 20. Okay. And then what else? Okay, so this is a linear layout. One thing about linear layout is that it requires an attribute called orientation. Actually, it doesn't require. It's defaulted to horizontal, but if you're using vertical, well, you have to explicitly tell that or say that or actually type that. Okay, so linear layout, the first linear layout, this orange one, it will be stacked vertically, so I need to explicitly type in the orientation attribute and set to the vertical, while the inner linear layout, this green, will be stacked horizontally. As you can see, the first text view here, the name, and the second one is right beside the name. So yeah, the orientation is horizontal. So this one is horizontal. So what this does, or what this means, is all the children of this linear layout will be stacked horizontally. So if we add text view here, let's say 50 dp, and for height it's 50 dp. No, 50 dp is too. Yeah, it's enough. For height, we can use match parent. Let's change the color for so that we can see it. We can see the text view clearly. There. So as you can see, this purple box here, rectangle here, is the text view. It has a width of 50 dp and it has a height of match parent. So it matches its parent, which is this one, which has 70 dp of height. So let's add another text view and change the color to blue. Yeah, there. As you can see, it has stacked the children horizontally, because we told the editor that this linear layout's orientation is horizontal. Okay, I think that's very clear at this point. But we don't like this kind of layout right now. We want to take the space available for them, for these controls, for these text views. So what we can do is make the width 0, and make the width of those text view 0. The problem right now is you cannot see the control because it has a 0 width. The solution here is combine it with layout weight. Let's use 0.5 for now, and as you can see, it took the entire space, the entire width. Okay. It doesn't mean that the entire width value is 0.5. What this does, what layout weight attribute does is it adds all the weights that being used across its siblings. So right now, its only sibling is this text view, which has no layout weight. That means the sum of the weights is 0.5. And this text view is using 0.5 out of 0.5. And that means 100%. So what we can do is add 0.5 weight as well in this second text view. As you can see, 0.5 weight plus 0.5 weight is 1. So the first text view is occupying 0.5 out of 1. So that's why they are equally spaced. They have equal width. If I make this 1, as you can see, 1 plus 1 plus 0.5 is 1.5, and the first text view occupies 0.5 out of 1.5. That means 1/3. So as you can see, it has perfectly reflected in our layout here. The purple text view, the first text view, occupies 1/3 of the entire width of their parent. This one. Yeah, this one. So yeah, that's it. That's it about weights. But we need it to be, yeah, I think it's enough having 1/3 of the entire width. Yep. But as you can see in our design, again, we have a little space between these two text views. So let's add margin right 10 dp from the first text view, so that its right side will add 10 dp of margin. So there we already now have a space between two text views. And let's now add the value of the text. Let's add name, and let's add the value, the value of name. Let's say I'll add my name here, but as you can see, the labels here, name, age, email, address, is aligned or anchored at the right. So we can use what we call gravity, and then right, right, okay, but it's also centered vertically, correct? Yeah, vertically. There. So we have implemented the the design, or the design guide. Same goes for the value of the name, but this time it's on the left. All right. The another problem here is that the text of this text view is quite at the edge of the of its control of this text view. What we can do here, like what I said earlier, margin is added outside the control while padding is added inside the control. So we can use here the padding right of 10 dp. This is the first view, but it did not reflect. I might have done something wrong here. Padding right 20 dp. There. Did I write left earlier? Anyway, padding right, just use 10 dp. It's 20 dp is too much. And then we can add padding as well on the value, but this time we use left because we need to add padding on the left side of the control. All right, so there we have it. You know what? Let's make the text bigger as well, but 20. Yeah, we can use that. And then text style to bold, and then the font color, text color to white. White is FF for red, FF for green, FF for blue. So we got white. This one should be SP for text size, for font sizes. So let's copy and paste this as well. for the value of this row. So yep, it's fine for now. So we can now see the effect of this uh, first linear layout, which is oriented vertically. If I copy and paste this, right now this is the only child of this linear layout. If I copy and paste this and it says orientation vertical, it should be below this first row. So paste, there we have it. We now have sort of like row system or row module, sort of like that. You can just add as many linear layout as you want, and it will automatically stack vertically. Okay, so now we change it to, you know what, we can add those first, and then we can just change the values. Name to age. Age value would be 25, which is not my exact age right now. And then email. This is a legit email right now. It's working. And if you guys have questions about my about this, or if you're having bugs, drop me an email. I'll try what I can do to help you. And then lastly, the address. And then, but the value here is a multi-line, or it's often longer than say age. Let's say lorem ipsum. Oops. Okay, paste. Yep. And then we can use a max line, so to minimize the, I'm sorry, to clamp the displayed text, the displayed line of text. So say 3, and then the height should be, this one should be around say 107, sorry, 120 there. Yep. So the address is bigger, of course, than the name or the age, since address tends to have more lines. And then let's add more text. We have a maximum line of 3 here in address, but we don't know if there's more text ahead. We can add ellipsize end. What happens here is that it will add 3 dots at the end if it has more characters that it can't display. So let's try to delete most of the text. As you can see, there's no 3 dots, because it can perfectly display the content since it's short enough for the space. So that's it. You can use the ellipsize here attribute to know if there are more characters. Okay, so I think that's it. No, we need another space here at the top. You know what? The address is quite big. Let's make it 110 or 100. That's enough. So we need another space here. I forgot to add some space, but as you can see, it's orange at the bottom at the left. So meaning we can add padding for this control, this orange, this one. We can add padding top of 20 dp there. So this is the padding of 20 dp. So the top part of this orange block, which is this linear layout. Okay, so let's move on to the last part, which is this block. We already have this block. We can just add a text view. I think it's easy enough. If you want to challenge yourself, pause this video and try to make it yourself. So let's just copy any text view here and paste it as children of the last layout. Let's does it have a background color? Yeah, it does, but it's quite unnoticeable. Let's make it green. It's not showing up because it has a width of 0, a weight of 1, which should take the entire space, a weight of a height of match parent. What's wrong here? Align parent bottom, width is match, height is 100. You know what? Let's make the width 100. Okay, let's remove the weight since we don't have any siblings and we're not trying to occupy free space. Background, let's retain that. The text, let's change it to something like copyright 2019. All rights reserved. Whatever. Okay, the text size is let's make it smaller, around 12 maybe. Okay, no, it's too small. 16, 15. Let's remove bold. Either you can use normal here, or well, basically it's the default value, so you can just remove this. And then the text color is white. Oh yeah, we can retain that. Gravity is, we can just use center. Oopsie daisies. Center. To center it, the width is too short. What we can use here is called wrap content. So what this does is the width of this control will be enough for its content. So in this case, the width of this text view will be enough for it to display this entire text of copyright 2019 all rights reserved. So right now, as you can see, there's a small padding on the left right here. We can remove that. Yeah, that's it. Actually, we'll add that back because letter C and the exclamation point at the right side is touching the edge, which is not pretty. Oh, yeah. Alright, so padding left of 10 dp maybe. Yep, that's enough. And padding right to balance the layout, to balance it out. Okay, so there we have it. For the height, we can wrap content as well, since we don't need to have a bigger height for the text. But the placement is not correct. Since this is a relative layout, we can easily align it. So align parent bottom, if I can spell it correctly, align parent bottom to true, and then I want to center it horizontally to true. There we have it. But according to our design, there's a small space below it, below the text. So what we can do is, if we add padding, here's the example. If we add padding below of 20 dB, as you can see, the green expanded its height. But if we that means the space is being added inside the control. But if we use margin bottom 20 dp, as you can see, the green part didn't change at all. The spacing was added outside the text view. All right, so I think that's clear enough at this point. Okay, what else? I think that's it. I think we managed to at least pull off the design that was being displayed here. Although maybe a small challenge for you is do this part. As you can see, we have centered address here. maybe you can do this. Yeah. That's a small challenge for you. So yeah, that's it. And I hope you got something out of this. And here's the outro. That's it, guys. I now hope you understand how Android layout works. If you learned something from this video, consider subscribing so you'll get to watch future videos similar to this one. And while you're at it, smash that like button as it will help this YouTube channel a lot. That's it, guys. Have a great day.